Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims, to day 67 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. So today we have a little more to read, so we're going to get started right away. We're going to be reading from Notebook 1, numbers 251 through 254. After perpetual vows, I stayed in Krakow throughout the month of May because it was undecided whether I was to go to Rabka or to Vilnius. Once Mother General Michael asked me, "Why are you sitting here so quietly and not getting ready to go somewhere, sister?" I answered, "I want to do God's pure will. Wherever you bid me to go, dear mother, I will know God's pure will for me will be there, without any admixture on my part." Mother General replied to me, "Very well." The next day she summoned me and said, "You wanted to have God's pure will, sister? Very well then. You are going to Vilnius." I thanked her and awaited the day when I would be told to go. However, my soul was filled with a certain joy and fear at one and the same time. I felt that God was preparing great graces for me there, but also great sufferings. Yet I stayed on in Krakow until the 27th of May. As I had no regular duties, I only went to help in the garden. And as it happened that I worked all alone for the whole month, I was able to make a Jesuit retreat. Although I went to community recreation, I still managed to make the Jesuit retreat. I received much light from God during this time. It was 4 days after my perpetual vows. I was trying to make a holy hour. It was the first Thursday of the month. As soon as I entered the chapel, God's presence enveloped me. I was distinctly aware that the Lord was near me. After a moment, I saw the Lord, all covered with wounds, and he said to me, "Look at whom you have espoused." I understood the meaning of these words and answered the Lord, "Jesus, I love you more when I see you wounded and crushed with suffering like this than if I saw you in majesty." Jesus asked, "Why?" I replied, "Great majesty terrifies me, little nothing that I am, and your wounds draw me to your heart and tell me of your great love for me." After this conversation, there was silence. I fixed my gaze upon his sacred wounds and felt happy to suffer with him. I suffered, and yet I did not suffer, because I felt happy to know the depth of his love, and the hour passed like a minute. I must never judge anyone, but look at others with leniency, and at myself with severity. I must refer everything to God, and in my own eyes recognize myself for what I am, utter misery and nothingness. In suffering, I must be patient and quiet, knowing that everything passes in time. The moments I lived through when I was taking my perpetual vows are better left unsaid. I am in him, and he in me. As the bishop was putting the ring on my finger, God pervaded my whole being, and since I cannot express that moment, I will be silent about it. My relationship with God since perpetual vows has been more intimate than it has ever been before. I sense that I love God and that he loves me. Having once tasted God, my soul could not live without him. 1 hour spent at the foot of the altar in the greatest dryness of spirit is dearer to me than 100 years of worldly pleasures. I prefer to be a lowly drudge in the convent than a queen in the world. All right, so I have been having some conversations with some Protestants. And one of the things that has been brought up over and over again is the fact that Catholic churches are very beautiful. And in our conversations, it's often said, yes, the Catholic churches are very beautiful, and, that's nice, but that money could be spent elsewhere. And I often, have to try to argue for the fact that, the Ark of the Covenant was made out of the finest things. The temple was made out of the finest things. And our churches are made out of beautiful and wonderful things, because when you enter those places, what you're supposed to recognize and understand is that this is a different place than anywhere else in the world. You're walking into the presence of God. God was in He dwelt within the Holy of Holies when the Israelites were roaming around the desert. And he dwelt within the temple in the Holy of Holies. And he dwells within our churches, in our Catholic churches. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but God is everywhere. And that's true, because God is a spirit. God is everywhere. You go up a mountain, God is around. You are in your house, God is around. However, his physical presence, his actual physical presence, is in our churches. And so what she says here in 252, she says, as soon as I entered the chapel, God's presence enveloped me. Now, I have been in many, many Protestant churches, and I have never felt that presence envelop me. But there have been so many times when I've walked into a Catholic church or a chapel and the Blessed Sacrament is there, the candle is lit, where I just feel, man, so good. Because I know that Christ is there and it just envelops me. There have been times when I've walked into certain churches, Catholic churches, and it's almost like I can breathe again. And the reason why our Catholic churches are supposed to be so beautiful is because everything about God, it's the true and the beautiful and the good. All those things raise our mind to God. And when we walk into a Catholic church, our minds are supposed to be raised to God because everything in there is beautiful. All the artwork displays the truth of our Catholic faith, and it is all goodness. If you walk into a shopping mall that's, pretending to be a church, and it's just, nothing in there that would tell you that it's a church, there's nothing about that helps to raise your mind to God. We are, as humans, both flesh and spirit, right? We live in the material world, and the material world affects our five senses. And when we walk into a beautiful church, oh my gosh, when I walked into the church, the Notre Dame in Montreal, I was outside, it was bright. When I walked in, I know this sounds cliche, but it literally took my breath away. And it was so beautiful and so magnificent. My jaw just dropped. And then Christ was there. And it was just like, oh, this is like home. This is like home. And I walked around and I lit candles at the, prayer areas and just sat in silence with Christ. And it just is magnificent. And I love how she says being with Christ is like an hour passes like a minute. Isn't that true? And that's what eternity is like. And I've heard somebody say one time, what are we going to do in heaven the whole time? It's going to go on and on and on. But I can't think of heaven in such ways like there's weeks and years. Okay, time does not exist there. So it's not like we're going to be wearing watches and, what are we doing next? We got a play to go to? Shopping, anyone? No. It will be, like she says, an hour will pass like a minute. And even the other thing she says is 1 hour spent at the foot of the altar in the greatest dryness of spirit is dearer to me than 100 years of worldly pleasures. Isn't that so true? I mean, like after confession, when I go and I kneel in front of the Blessed Sacrament to do my penance, just being right there and thanking God for his forgiveness. And he's right there. He's right there. It just brings me to tears. It's so beautiful. And it's dearer to me than any worldly pleasure I can experience. It's just so wonderful and so magnificent. And I just love how in love with God she is. And so I wanted to bring up the churches and the beauty of them because it's something that we hear a lot of. Oh, the Catholic Church could, take that money and spend it elsewhere. But the thing to remember is a lot of our Catholic churches were built by the people of the town that the church resides in. And they all pooled together, the poor and the rich, to build those magnificent churches. And so that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to offer that church to God and make it a place where when they walk in, God envelops them because he's present in there, in the tabernacle. And it's just an awesome, awesome thing about our Catholic faith. I wish more people could understand it because it is so awesome. There's got to be a better word than awesome, but that's the only thing I can think of. And it's magnificent. So that's all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 68. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.